Welcome to Home Biz Tax Talk. My name is Lysandra Everett. I am the Home Biz Tax Lady, where I help home business owners win the tax game. Home Biz Tax Talk airs Monday through Friday, 9 o'clock-ish. And when you tune into my show, you're going to hear about topics that are important to the home business community. All right. So today we're talking about the difference between injured spouse and innocent spouse. Okay, so these are two ways you can file your status if you're a spouse and you got some drama going on the tax front. So let's talk about it. So when we're talking about an injured spouse is dealing with a tax refund, usually, okay? And then when you're talking about innocent spouse, you're talking about a tax liability. So we'll tackle injured spouse first, because really that's what you're going to be hearing about on Facebook, you guys, and on social media. People ticked off about the IRS taking a refund to satisfy a spouse's tax issue. So what kind of things happen with innocent spouse? Well, if you have a spouse that owes back child support, has back taxes, or owes student loans, or even possibly have a state debt, if you all file together and produce a refund, then the IRS will take the refund to satisfy the debt of that other spouse. So this is why it's important to have these tax conversations before any filing gets going, okay? Because you really need to know. Because to go back and correct an to correct injured spouse, it takes lots of time. Now, if you file, if you claim injured spouse when you file, you will file that electronically, but it's going to take longer to process. It's not going to be a 10-day turnaround, because there's a human involved in an injured spouse claim. Okay. So with injured spouse, you want to try to do that when you file, not after the fact, because trying to get this money back, hey, that can be a very long and tiresome type of, event to go through. It just really is. It's crazy. So you want to do that up front. But what that does is that allows you to file jointly as a married couple to get all the tax credits that you are due, and then separate to where, the spouse that has the back tax issue or whatever, that their money gets taken, and then you, the injured spouse, you get your money. So that is how that's how the injured spouse works. Okay. So now let's talk about innocent spouse. Now, innocent spouse has to do with the liability. So if you want to think about innocent spouse, think, I didn't do it. Okay. And that usually has to do with spousal abuse or even criminal activity, to where the spouse really has no clue of what's going on in the tax return. Now, the thing about innocent spouse is that you really have to be able to prove that you didn't know what was going on, or that you really didn't have anything to do with it, because your spouse may have been in control of the finances. It really does happen. So with innocent spouse, there is a tax liability, and you're saying, hey, I had nothing to do with this. So when you are married filing jointly, you are responsible for the tax liability, both jointly, meaning together, and severally, meaning each one of you will be held responsible. So just as an example, if you filed a joint return, and let's say you later got divorced, and there was a tax debt to be resolved. Well, if the other spouse did it, but you over here getting your life and you get a refund, the IRS will then come take your refund because you were on that tax return. Okay. So that's what it means to be responsible jointly and severally. That means if they can't get it from one, they'll get it from the other. So the innocent spouse claim is something that, you're saying, hey, I don't have anything to do with this tax liability. That's something they did, and I should not be held responsible. So you really have to, know which situation you're dealing with. Injured spouse, again, is dealing with the refund. Now, one of the things I heard, and I'm sorry if it kind of tickled me a little bit, but it does not mean that you, the spouse, have to be injured. The injury is them taking your tax refund to satisfy someone else's debt. It doesn't mean that you are physically injured or have to be physically injured to claim injured spouse. It's just that your spouse has has claimed, has some unresolved issue that the government is saying, hey, we're coming to get this money. All right. Now, another situation that I saw that you guys listen, just don't do it. Okay. I saw a situation where a girlfriend allowed boyfriend to claim her children, and that produced a refund. Well, the IRS took that refund because boyfriend had not been paying child support for his own children. Okay. So, and in this case, you know what? There's no resolution simply because the girlfriend and the boyfriend were not married. So there is no joint return. And the boyfriend, he can't exactly go and say, okay, well, I wasn't supposed to claim these kids because then that's fraud and he can get in more trouble. And so the person that got the back child support, hey, that's what was coming to you. So you really have to be careful in what you're doing in these tax returns. Please don't claim dependents that are not yours. Don't allow other people to claim your dependents. All of that is fraud. And then you can't go back and file injured spouse and you're doing fraudulent stuff. That's not how this works. Okay. So both of these situations require a married filing joint situation. If you're married filing separate, this is not an issue, okay? But the problem with married filing separate is that then you no longer get those tax credits. There are some tax credits that will not be eligible to you married filing separate. So this is why you want to file joint. But also you want to know what's going on in your tax life. I have had too many couples that have come to me where one person is the primary and the other person goes to sleep. That is not okay. You have to know what's going on in your tax life. And so if something isn't right or something doesn't make sense, then you can say, okay, no, we need to do something with this, or you refuse to sign the return. Because when you sign the return, you sign under penalty of perjury that everything is true and correct to the best of your knowledge. And if you don't know what's in the return, then you're just signing something and you're signing your life away. Okay, so don't sign a return. I don't care who it is, if it's your spouse or whatever. Do not sign a tax return if you do not understand what is in there, or if you think that there is something wrong, because that tax professional should take the time to answer your questions so that you understand what is in the tax return. And if there's something there that doesn't make sense or shouldn't be there, you should not sign that return, because, and on the flip side, when the issue gets discovered, then you're going to be held responsible for paying back whatever that tax liability or refund that you got that you weren't really entitled to. So that is the deal with injured spouse and innocent spouse. Injured spouse is dealing with the refund. Innocent spouse is dealing with the tax liability. Both of these things are very time consuming when it comes to claiming them in the tax system. So if you've got that kind of situation, get your patience on, because it can take up to 12 weeks. And if not more, for it to all get resolved. Okay. So I hope that makes sense to you. So listen, if you need to schedule a consult, you can do so right here at www.homebiztaxchat.com. And that's it for today's episode of Home Biz Tax Talk. Again, we air Monday through Friday, 9 o'clock-ish. And when you tune into my show, you are going to hear about topics that are important to the home business community. And you can come right here and get your home business questions answered. All right. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.